I sacrificed. I didn't do anything thousands, millions of other mothers do every month. They sacrifice. So that's what I did. And if it meant me not eating lunch for the rest of the week, so be it. Whatever it took, those phone calls were paid for and they came every day.
For Diane Lewis and for her incarcerated son, telephone calls were nothing less than a lifeline. As so many others have done, she made them happen, despite the high costs.
The phone calls are very expensive, and I couldn't afford them. I never could afford them, but I knew that if I didn't pay for them, there would be no way I could talk to him, and how would I know how he was doing?
Calling people who have been incarcerated is expensive. In many cases, families must pay up to $1 per minute.
So there were times when I had to do without lights, without gas. There were times I had to do without food, but he didn't know because that was my issue. I had to handle that. So, there were times I talked to him in the dark, but he didn't know. As long as my phone is charged up.
Communication between incarcerated people and their loved ones is key to promoting positivity in prisons and jails, mitigating trauma for children and families, and improving reentry success when people are released.
I needed to make sure his spirits were up. He knew what was going on around us. From the day he got arrested all the way till he was about to come home, it was really important that as a family, he was always connected.
Prison telecommunications are designed to be exorbitantly expensive. Prisons and jails sign monopoly contracts with private telecom providers who set high prices and kick back money to state and local correctional systems. Incarcerated people and their families have no choice but to pay if they want to stay connected. They are a captive market in the truest sense of the word. Connecticut rakes in over $7 million from its prison phone contract, giving it an incentive to maintain this unjust system.
So when I found out that Connecticut was getting over $7 million in kickbacks from Securus, I was already infuriated with paying what I had to pay every week to speak to my son, but that just added insult to injury. You're still punishing, and you're using the money to further punish.
In Diane's case, she was paying Securus Technologies, a corporation owned by the private equity firm Platinum Equity, whose co-founder is the Los Angeles billionaire Tom Gores. Gores is also the owner of the Detroit Pistons, the professional basketball team. The predatory behavior that Diane experienced is common among corporations owned by private equity firms, and it can take many forms. Private equity firms do everything they can to maximize revenue and squeeze costs, no matter the human toll. Once they've raked in their profit, they quickly sell off their businesses. Predatory behavior is encouraged and all too common. In Diane's case, Securus charged inflated rates for calls, shifting the costs of the correctional system onto impacted communities. Whether they are price gouging marginalized people, driving layoffs in retail, shortening life expectancy in nursing homes, or destroying local newspapers with ruthless cost-cutting, the private equity industry is responsible for some of the most harmful business practices in the United States.
Tom, you get to speak to your children anytime you want. You live a life of privilege, and that's not a problem for me. My problem is I want to talk to my kids like you want to talk to your children, the same way. That's what I would tell them. Please allow us to.
Criminal justice reform advocates have called on Gores to either sell Securus or end his ownership of the Detroit Pistons. Financial reform supporters are seeking a full restructuring of the predatory private equity industry. Gores responded that the criticism over his ownership of Securus hurts.
Hurt? This man has no clue what hurt means as far as family. Hurt is when You got 10 more dollars left to your name. You have nothing else. There's no food in my house. There's no gas in my car. And you have to wait to when you can get all your dollars together to speak to him for the first time since he's been in prison. I was devastated. That's hurt.